Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. So if you're asking your attorney to do a deposition, if you don't know what a deposition is, check my video out on YouTube channel. It's the #1 weapon available. Attorney subpoenas the opposing party, grills the crap out of them with a court reporter, just like trial, and asks them questions to trap them, destroy their credibility, all that stuff. If your attorney says, no, we don't want to do that, we don't want to tip them off to what our questions are going to be at trial or at the hearing. If your attorney says that, they're admitting that they're a low IQ Neanderthal who hasn't fully evolved. They're proving that they're a moronic idiot. Because if you ask a question at a deposition, do the children need a father? Are fathers important? Are fathers equally important? Yes, yes, and yes. You've trapped her and locked her in to establishing uncontested facts of her opinion. You've established some things. If you go to court and you ask her that stuff, for a setup to say, well, why, if the father's important, why didn't you want equal visitation and equal this and equal that? If you ask her those questions, you're not tipping her off to something that, you're not losing out. You're not doing something where you will be at a disadvantage. You are trapping her and locking her in to facts that you can establish. Because if you go to a hearing or a trial and you're asking her 100 questions, you don't know the answer to 100 questions. If you know the answer to 100 questions at a deposition, you can leave out the ones that won't, if your attorney asks a question and gets caught with their pants down and the attorney says, what was that about? I didn't know that she was alleging you did this and did that. If your attorney gets caught with their pants down at trial or at a court hearing, it's too late at that point. If your attorney knows her answers ahead of time, and the attorney knows what she's going to answer, then your attorney can ask surprise questions after that and trap her and make her look stupid. So let's say you ask at a deposition, do you think parents are important in kids' lives? Do you think they're equally important? Do you think they should have equal time with the kids? She says, yes, yes, and no. Why don't you think they're equal? Oh, kids need moms more. Where do you get that from? Oh, well, that's just the way that it is. Well, that's what the courts do. So then you could turn around and tell the courts, this lady thinks that the court is just going to automatically give her custody, even though the laws say this and the laws say that, and the laws have these factors. And then while you're strategizing before the hearing, you've already got her trapped and know her answers to several questions, so you can come up with surprise questions. Your attorney's an idiot if your attorney thinks, oh, we're going to ruin the element of surprise. When you go to court and you ask questions, you have no idea what her answers are going to be. The element of surprise will be on you. These attorneys are so stupid, it's ridiculous. Plus, if you ask her a question and she knows the questions that are coming at trial, she can't change her story and answer with a different answer. She's locked into it. So it's not like she has the upper hand on you. Both of you know what her answers are going to be. Just now you know the answers, so you can tell the court what she thinks, or you can ask her other follow-up questions or make certain arguments because of her answers. Do you understand what I'm saying? Your attorney says, let's not do that because we'll show our cards by showing them the questions. Your attorney is so stupid, they can't think one step ahead. All they're thinking is in the immediate. Oh, if I ask questions, she'll know my questions. Okay, retard. If you ask questions and then they answer, then you know their answers. So now you're at the advantage. You're not going to get blindsided by their answers. Why wouldn't you want to know the answers before the test? And then again, let's say you do a deposition, you have a hearing or a trial coming up in a month or two, and you do some investigating, you do some discovery, and you find some more evidence. Now you have stuff where you have her locked in, she thinks you're equally important, all this other stuff, and then let's say she accused you of domestic violence. When you go to court, you don't know if she's going to come up with some new allegations or new claims that, oh yeah, and he threatened me this one time. You can ask at a deposition, what are all the incidents of domestic violence that happen? And then if she comes up with something new at trial, then she's lying. But if she comes up with, let's say she comes up with 3 incidents at a deposition. If she comes to court and comes up with, 4 or 5, or you don't know, if you don't do a deposition, you don't even know those 3. So you don't know what she's going to say at trial or at a court hearing as to what you did. So when you find out what is the root of her allegation, what is she relying upon, then you can take the next step and attack the evidence that she's relying upon or the lack thereof. Oh, well, so why did you let him in the house after he abused you? Oh, well, I just was scared. Okay. Did you call the cops? Why not? See, if you just go to court without asking these questions, you don't know the why or everything. So if you ask, let's say you do ask a great question, you start pinning her down at trial, then she can come from a different angle that you did not expect. Because here's the thing, you didn't pin everything down and exclude or terminate all of her options. You're not just asking questions and tipping her off to the questions. You are pinning her down and cornering her where she has no way out. If you don't do a deposition and you don't ask her all the questions that need to be asked, then you start from scratch at a hearing or at a trial, and you don't have her pinned down or cornered. She has you in the dark the whole time, so she can come with the element of surprise and come with the new allegations that she never brought up before. And then your attorney turns to the judge, Your Honor, she's bringing up something new that's not in her paperwork. And she says, well, I forgot because I was so traumatized by him and this and that. At a deposition, you say, what are all the incidents of domestic violence? What are all the reasons you're afraid of him? Is there anything else? Okay, so after all this stuff happened, you still left the kids around him, or you're still proposing every other weekend. See, a lot of times women will claim domestic violence just to ensure that the dad doesn't get 50-50. And so if they're willing to let you have 50-50, or if they're willing to let you have every other weekend, but you're an abuser, a child abuser, domestic violence perpetrator, anger management, you ask her why. Here's the thing also, listen very carefully. If your attorney says, well, we don't want to do a deposition, if a deposition tips everybody off and puts you at a disadvantage, how come millions of attorneys are doing depositions all the time in court cases, especially in a lawsuit? How come they're doing it if it's at a disadvantage? Your attorney's an incompetent, stupid jackass is what the problem is. If you ask a question, she knows what your questions are. If you don't ask the questions, you have no idea what her answers are. You're in the dark about her answers. So who's at the disadvantage? Your attorney is saying, we want to have the upper hand, we want to have the advantage, so we don't want to do a deposition, and we don't want to get her answers, because we don't want to let her know our questions. When you go to a trial, which is your chance to dig out the answers from her, you have no idea what her answers are going to be, and so when she answers, what is your attorney going to do for follow-up questions? Or if her answer is a great answer that makes her look good, how is your attorney going to counter that? See, we're not doing tit for tat, your questions and then her answers, and then that's the end of it. You're asking questions to dig deeper and dig deeper and dig deeper and say, wait a minute, you were lying all along. Your attorney is saying, let's not ask questions. Let's be in the dark about this and about this and about this. And if you ask a question and the attorney thinks her answer might be this, and your attorney has a follow-up question, or your attorney probably doesn't have any follow-ups, you are lost as to the follow-ups. The real important questions are the follow-ups. And your attorney is saying, we don't want to ask the initial questions because we don't want to tip them off. So you're not going to get her answers, and you're not going to solidify basic fundamental facts. You can go deeper to the next level. And you don't know how you're going to do your follow-up questions because you don't know her answer. So you're in the dark. So your attorney is saying, I don't want to tip them off to your questions. If you do a deposition, they have to tip you off as to their answers, which gives you strategy for your follow-up questions. Your attorney's so stupid, they can't think or use deductive reasoning or think one more second down the road. So if you're an attorney, you say, hey, I want to do a deposition. I heard that they're really important. They're really helpful. Oh, we don't want to tip them off. Okay, so how do we know what her answers are going to be? What are your follow-up questions to her answers? If we don't ask the questions, we don't know the follow-up. So everybody's just up here on the surface. Oh, he's a monster. He's crazy and this and that. You're not cross-examining her, and you're not digging. You're not getting all answers. If you dig down in deposition and get all of her answers, then when she comes to court and she changes her story, then she looks like a pathological liar and you got her. But your attorney doesn't want to do that because your attorney's a stupid jackass like most of these fumbling, bumbling, subhuman piece of garbage idiots. And I got people on YouTube mocking me for talking about what I'm talking about. And they're never saying that I'm wrong, except for little tid for tat stuff. But they're attacking me for who I am. And these are attorneys. They're not saying, oh, what you're saying isn't the truth or you're full of crap. They're just attacking me because I'm a guy helping people. Ain't that crazy? Do a deposition.